Isang mapayapang hapon Pilipinas. Ito po ang inyong balerina ng bayan, si Lisa Macuja Elizalde, na bumabati sa lahat ng nakikinig sa DZRH Radio at sa mga nanonood sa DZRH TV, lalo na sa ating mga kasamahang alagad ng sining at kultura sa buong bansa. Ang mga comic books at graphic novels ay sikat sa buong mundo dahil pinagsama-sama ng mga ito ang mga makukulay na larawan at kapanapanabik na kwento na nakakainganyo sa imahinasyon ng napakaraming tao. Gamit ang iba't ibang genre, from superhero tales and fantasy adventures to real-life stories and social issues, there's always something for everyone, bata man o matanda. Bukod pa dito, aside from their entertainment value, comic books and graphic novels have also become powerful tools for learning and cultural expression. Kaya't huwag kayong aalis. Sa hapong ito, samahan ninyo kaming pag-usapan ang mga latest trends sa industriya ng comics kasama ang co-founder and president ng KOMIKET Festival na si Paolo Herras. Magbabalik ang Art to Art pagkatapos ng ilang paalala.
Programang hatid ay sining at kulturang para sa lahat. Magbabalik ang Art to Art.
Tinesting, sinuri, siniyasan. Ang resulta? Super effective ang Shield sa pagpatay ng bakterya at virus. Shield Antibacterial Soap. Believe ang mga eksperto sa Philippine Nurses Association. At si Mami.
Tiwala ako sa Shield.
Shield Antibacterial Soap. Napatunayang mabisa. Ang mga nurse, tiwala.
Hello, Washi! Laundry day na naman!
Yay! Anong meron?
Mancha ng chocolate, putik, may libag pa!
Kaya natin yan! With Pride Washing Machine Detergent, may triple stain-away formula. Tanggal ang makapit, madikit, at madupit na dumit mancha. Kaya easy-easy ang labada.
Mula noon hanggang ngayon!
All you need is pride. All you need is pride. ACS.
Usapang sining at kultura para sa lahat. Art to Art.
Nandito pa rin tayo sa Art to Art at kasama natin sa hapong ito ang co-founder and president ng KOMIKET, graphic novel publisher, Paolo Herras. Magandang hapon, Paolo, and welcome to Art to Art.
Magandang hapon, Lisa, and thank you for having me.
So alam ko, first time mo dito sa aming programa. So magkwentuhan lang tayo, okay? So pwede mo bang ikwento kung paano nagsimula ang KOMIKET?
Okay. So nagsimula yung KOMIKET kasi nawalan ng event ang comics nung summer ng 2015. So linapitan ako at yung mga ibang comics creators na magbuo ng event para may lugar kung saan pwedeng ibenta at ipakita yung mga akda na ginawa na comics. And doon po nagsimula. That was April 5, it was Easter Sunday. That's why it was like it was the only available week na may venue. So we were at Centrus Elements tent. And I think around 100 creators were there and 1,500 people came to support us.
Nakakatuwa naman, Easter Sunday pa yung event.
We'll be on our 10th anniversary next year.
Okay, so 10th anniversary na. Okay. So, syempre, mahirap naman talaga mag-umpisa ng isang it's a festival?
Yes.
And it's an annual festival, correct?
It's we've been holding the Philippine International Comics Festival online since 2020 nung pandemic. And then we just grew our network every year. We started to meet other festivals like us from UK, Australia, Tokyo, and France. And we met other publishers and creators that were from Southeast Asia and other parts of the world. So it was like we were creating a awareness for comics in around the world. Now that there is comics in the Philippines and that we're here. After this 4 years of doing it online, we are holding the first in-person event.
Face-to-face na?
Face-to-face.
Okay. Fantastic. But Paolo, for you personally, why comics? Why did you get into comics?
Well, I've always been a storyteller. So I was a creative writing major at the Philippine Institute for the Arts. I was a Ricky Lee workshopper. I was the youngest in my batch. That was 1999. And I got into film and advertising. And in the ad agency I was working with, one of my art directors, Tepay Pascual, was her thesis in UP Fine Arts was a graphic novel called Mactan 1521. So as part of getting to know each other, she shared with me her graphic novel. I shared with her my films, and that's how we started to plan to create a comic book on our own. And that's how I started joining the local Comic Cons and other events.
Okay, so just to clarify, ang KOMIKET ba ay at ang Philippine International Comics Festival ay hiwalay na entities or is it the same thing?
The KOMIKET is the organizer, and
Okay.
the name of our events are also called KOMIKET. But this one is it's like our crown event, so the Philippine International Comics Festival. So it's the only comics only festival because our comics art markets is open to other forms of art. And that's how, because the vision and the objective of KOMIKET is to grow the comics community. So where will we find that growth? And that's through other creatives and other artists, writers, illustrators. That's why we're a comics art market.
I see. So paano nag-evolve ang KOMIKET from your first, exhibit 10 years ago?
Well, we started, we grew organically. We provided solutions to what our community's problems were at that time. So and you would track our growth by that. So when there were hardly any spaces for creators to showcase their work, we put up comics art markets called KOMIKET. Then because comics is not taught in school or it's not part of the curriculum of our educational system, then we started teaching comic book creators workshops to discover new creators. Then because you can't find comics in bookstores because it's impractical and impossible to get your book inside a bookstore with high consignment fees and government papers for just one comic book. So it's very impractical. So we put up our own bookstore called Secret HQ. And then when one publisher, we only have like 3. Pre-pandemic, there were only 3 comics publishers. When the biggest one closed shop, we activated more as a publisher.
I see.
And that's how we pivoted to publishing.
Okay, all right. So can you name a few artists na masasabi mong naging suki or regulars ng KOMIKET events since its inception?
Well, not all get to attend every year. But the most memorable ones would be the Kuching family. They, in the first few years of KOMIKET, they would reprint the works of Francisco Kuching. And Paul Medina Jr., especially when he lost his comic strip in the newspaper, we would get him to exhibit in our events. And then now we have a lot of popular comics creators that are online or on social media, like Tarantadong Kalbo, SS Kite would be there. And yeah, so it kind of evolved.
Okay. So anong profile ng typical comics creator sa Pilipinas ngayon?
In terms of, when you say profiles, it demographics or psychographics?
Yeah, well, it's basically, it's a demographic.
Okay.
So marami bang, say, full-time comics creators? Is it a very tight community or is it like spread out?
It used to be a tight community because to be part of it, you had to print your comic book. But post-pandemic, or during the pandemic, there were a lot of digital comics creators that that sprouted. They just opened the social media account and started posting their comics there. So it's not as easy to round everyone together. I would say these are passionate artists that like to tell original stories. So these are the stories that they really, really love and that they wanted to create their own and share it to whoever will read them. So I would say that would be the demographic. It's not yet, we're not an industry,
Yeah.
so you cannot have, we're part of the publishing industry,
Yes.
but we're not a comics industry like decades ago in the golden age of comics. It's really passionate hobbyists, like independent filmmakers. I would say that would be the parallel. But yeah, it's
Well,
the independent
you
spirit.
mentioned the golden age of comics. Okay, what was that?
Okay, I don't specialize in that, but I would describe it as a studio system. There were these big publishers that would publish comics on newsprint at a very low cost, and some would publish weekly or twice a month or monthly, and these would get printed and distributed around the country, and also even Southeast Asia countries were influenced by our comics during that time. It was to the readers, it was fantastic because you would just buy comics for a very cheap price. But for the illustrators and writers, I would say it's exploitative because they were paid very little for their work. We have no concept of archiving. So as soon as it gets published, some of the printers or publishers would burn or throw the original artwork. And the creators don't get to keep the rights of their work. So I think that's something that's common in a lot of creative industries. A lot of the intellectual property is not owned by the creators.
I see.
So that's why that's a very big difference today, because the creators get to keep the rights of the work when they are published by the comics publishers.
So, today, protektado na ang mga comics artists and publishers?
Well, if it's a reputable publisher, yes. Because there are still some publishers that, it's still legal to keep the rights or to take the rights, especially if it's commissioned work. But if it's independent work, the rights to the ownership should be kept with the authors and the creators.
Okay. So, in your opinion, like sa kasalukuyang trends sa Philippine comics now, ano ito? Kasi nga, I see, ang dami mong dalang mga libro. Merong para sa bata, merong para sa matatanda,
Yes.
na medyo fantasy, merong based on true stories. What do the readers look for now? What are the trends in Philippine comics nowadays?
The trends right now has changed. There are a lot of boys love and girls love stories. I think that's influenced by your Japanese manga and your Thai BLs. No? So that is a major trend right now. Something that has been a trend for the past decade is our stories on Filipino mythology or our supernatural beings, because it's rooted in our cultural brokenness. No? We don't have a clear picture of our cultural past. So you see creators try to reconnect, recreate, reclaim that and even romanticize that cultural past. So you'd see a lot of stories on Filipino mythology, supernatural beings. So that's a very popular genre, and one of the most successful, because our two most popular comics, Mythology Class by Arnold Are and Trece by Budget Tan and Kadjo Bildissimo, are the ones that have gone the farthest.
Okay.
I think the top four, the third would be Elmer by Jerry Alangilan, which is about a a new society where chickens fight for their rights and get rights to
Parang Animal
they
Farm.
speak. Yeah.
Okay.
But that made it to an Eisner nomination in the US and made it to France and Europe. And the fourth would be Jaja Zatorna, which was one of the most popular. And the ones that Jaja was the one that was able to maximize its intellectual property. That
At
it started.
naging musical ito,
Exactly.
no? Ng
So-
tanghalang Pilipino.
So from comic book to musical to film and now to an animated series. So there's an animated series being produced right now, which is on Kickstarter if you'd like to help.
Okay, alright. Okay, fantastic. Well, marami pa po tayong pag-uusapan kasama ang president ng KOMIKET na si Paolo Herras. Dito pa rin sa Art to Art, magbabalik po kami pagkatapos ng ilang paalala.
Programang hatid ay sining at kulturang para sa lahat. Magbabalik ang Art to Art. Schedule ng mga inaabangang konsyerto. Update sa mga magagandang panoorin sa mga tanghalan at teatro. Narito na ang Art to Art Calendar.
Narito ang ating arts calendar. Sa sining biswal, kasalukuyang makikita ang kauna-unahang solo exhibition ng Rizal-based abstractionist na si Cameron Castrillo sa National Commission for Culture and Arts Gallery sa Intramuros, Manila. Tampok sa Beyond Brass, Life and Imagination through Sculpture ang mga wall-bound brass reliefs at in-the-round standing sculptures. Bukas ang NCCA Gallery mula Lunes hanggang Huwebes, alas 9 ng umaga hanggang alas 6 ng gabi at tuwing Biyernes at Sabado, alas 9 ng umaga hanggang alas 3 ng hapon. Para sa karagdagang detalye, mag-email sa gallery@ncca.gov.ph. Sa musika at teatro, muling inihahandog ng Cultural Center of the Philippines ang kanilang Triple Threat Concert Series kung saan ang bawat palabas ay nakatuon sa isang performer na may kakayahang umawit, umarte at sumayaw. Tampok sa taong ito ang mga batikang leading women sa Philippine Musical Theater na sina Carla Guevara La Forteza sa July 25, Sheila Valderrama Martinez October 17 at Tanya Manalang Atadero sa December 12. Mapapanood ang mga palabas sa tanghalang Ignacio Jimenez sa CCP Complex, Pasay City. Para sa karagdagang detalye, bumisita sa official social media accounts ng CCP. Samantala, bilang pagdiriwang ng ika-8 anibersaryo ng tagumpay sa arbitration case tungkol sa West Philippine Sea, inihahandog ng National Historical Commission of the Philippines ang exhibit na Pag-asa sa Gitna ng Kalayaan. Tampok dito ang mga litrato ni Paul Kiambao ng kalagayan ng West Philippine Sea at ng mga Pilipinong naninirahan sa Kalayaan Island, Palawan, kasama ang ilang makasaysayang mapa mula sa koleksyon ng National Library of the Philippines. Nagbukas noong July 5, ang exhibit ay makikita sa ikalawang palapag ng National Library sa TM Calao Avenue, Ermita, Manila hanggang sa dulo ng buwan.
Tinesting, sinuri, siniyasan. Ang resulta? Super effective ang Shield sa pagpatay ng bakterya at virus. Shield Antibacterial Soap. Believe ang mga eksperto sa Philippine Nurses Association. At si Mami.
Tiwala ako sa Shield.
Shield Antibacterial Soap. Napatunayang mabisa. Ang mga nurse, tiwala.
Hello, Washi! Laundry day na naman!
Yay! Anong meron?
Mancha ng chocolate, putik, may libag pa!
Kaya natin yan! With Pride Washing Machine Detergent, may triple stain-away formula. Tanggalang makapit, madikit, at malupit na dumit mancha. Kaya easy-easy ang labada.
Mula noon hanggang ngayon!
All you need is pride. All you need is pride. ACS.
Usapang sining at kultura para sa lahat. Art to Art.
Andito pa rin tayo sa Art to Art at kasama pa rin natin ang graphic novel publisher and KOMIKET co-founder na si Paolo Herras. Okay, Paolo, before we broke for the commercial, we were talking about the difference of KOMIKET and the Philippine International Comics Festival. So ano yung nag-motivate sa'yo para ilunsad ang Philippine International Comics Festival?
Well, Lisa, after growing the comics art markets, the comics creators were giving feedback that there is still not enough readers. So when we analyzed and did our market study on it, it was because there's not enough readers because there's not enough comics and there's not enough creators. So it's systemic. So it was very familiar to how it was in independent film back in the early 2000s. Now, wherein only 25 Filipino films were being made, nobody's watching local cinema. It was because of piracy, rampant piracy, Hollywood, and even your free TV, the teleseries are bigger than the films. So it was during that time we're in these independent film festivals like Cinemalaya, Cinema One, which I was a part of, and Cinema Manila International Film Festival, that they had that they placed the film production in the hands of the filmmakers, and they started to produce, write, direct, produce their own films, and these films would make it to international film festivals that eventually grew more viewers from our own, grew more Filipino viewers of Philippine cinema. So we wanted that same Cinemalaya effect for comics.
For comics.
And what we did was we did a call for entries, saying, asking our community who wants to, who's looking for more readers and who wants to go international. We didn't, at that time, we didn't know how we were going to go international. It was just like, part of the goal. And we got a lot of entries, over 100 entries, and we selected the first 10. So we selected our first official selection of 10 graphic novel pitches, which we helped them develop in a creator's lab and or a workshop. And when they were done, we would publish them as books. Because a lot of the comics before were printed in UP Shopping Center before it was burned down, or before it got burned down. And it was Xeroxed, photocopied, staplered. So it wasn't, and that's okay, no? But we wanted to show the maximum potential of a Filipino comic book, and that's why we committed to publishing the first 10. But the pandemic happened, and there were no more events. So we pivoted our festival online. And when we started to say we're the Philippine International Comics Festival, we met other comics festivals like us. And that's how we started to realize that it's not just in the Philippines that our situation of not having enough readers is actually present in a lot of other countries that put up their own festivals because they needed to grow the readership and the creators, the same thing. So we met the Perth Comic Art Festival in Australia, we met the Lakes International Comic Art Festival in the UK, Lyon Bidet in France, and we met also other comics publishers and creators from Southeast Asia, the US, and Europe. And that's how it started to become real. The international started to become real. And during the pandemic, we were one of the few publishers that kept publishing. So the National Book Development Board took notice of our work. And for the first time, comics was represented in the Frankfurt Book Fair, where they regularly get a Philippine booth since 2015.
Yes, the Philippines was guest of honor, or is going to be guest of honor.
It's going to be
sa
guest of honor.
Frankfurt Book Fair in 2025.
Yes, next year.
Wow, so what are the plans and expectations for this event?
That one was aligned with our goals to going international. So I was sent in 2021 to represent my community of creators, and not just our own published creators, but from other publishers and self-published creators. And that's how we got into licensing, into rights selling, and into looking for international publishers who are interested in translating our titles. And after that, comics had one of the most leads and interest, and showing that comics is very viable, or one of the most viable. And that's why comics became a mainstay in the book selection for the Philippines. And And that's why we're preparing to also bring these books outside so that they would eventually get translated. And the books that do get translated will be featured in the Philippine Pavilion at the Frankfurt Book Fair. And the ones that are next in line will also be in a separate national stand in the Frankfurt Book Fair. And it's very important because it only comes once. It's like a Miss Universe that it comes once every, I mean, it's 77 years. It's the oldest book fair in the world. And we might not see the next time the Philippines gets the guest of honor. So it's right timing for what we're
fantastic.
doing.
That's something that's, I'm sure, very exciting for everyone in the industry.
Yes.
Okay, so pagdating sa hinaharap, ano ang nakikita mong direction para sa KOMIKET at sa mga, syempre, sa mas malawak na Philippine comics industry? So ano sa tingin mo yung kailangan hakbang para magpatuloy ang paglago ng industriyang ito?
Well, I think the next steps is still in the process of improvement. Now that a lot of the creators, well, ideally that they would also get exposed to international markets so that they would also upgrade. No? They would see that, okay, this is the standard in the world. So naturally, the response is, I will try to create work that's of that standard.
Yeah.
Because right now, we're creating work that's, in our community. So it's like big fish in a small pond. So the next steps would be improving, constantly improving the work, the art, the storytelling, producing longer work because we tell very, very short stories. No? So longer work and hopefully getting to other international markets as well.
And is there like a jump in readership of comics now because of all of these events?
Yes, actually, we sell more books in our events, and we sell more books also outside our events. Another good thing that the one of the good things that happened during the pandemic is the presence of e-commerce sites and how people also buy through these sites.
Mas accessible na.
Mas accessible na. So in a click of a finger, in an app, you can already have access to the books. And this is not just for comics, but the entire publishing industry that was limited to being sold in bookstores that prioritized office supplies or furniture over books. And you would see like a comic book competing with an F. Shonil Jose book in one shelf because we're not provided any adequate space. So that one was a game changer for all of the publishers. I'm aware that from also speaking with other publishers that we're selling more books now. Siguro, if the Department of Education would continue to buy more from local publishers, because more than 50% of their budget is used on foreign books.
Okay.
So if they are, well, in healthier book industries, their own governments are the first buyers of their books. So that would be the.
So, well, I'm curious, meron bang comic book na parang required reading sa Philippine schools para sa mga estudyante?
Sa ngayon, wala pa.
Wala
But
pa.
I know that there was a time the Commission of Higher Education selected a few comic books pre-pandemic. At that time, there were only a few comics publishers. So right now, one of the good work that the National Book Development Board has been doing is working closely with the Department of Education so that they could see all of the new books, not just comics, but all of the other books, so that it would encourage them to purchase books from the local publishers.
Okay, well, Paolo, maraming salamat sa pagdalaw mo dito sa aming programa sa hapong ito. And congratulations on the highly successful Philippine International Comics Festival happening at the Podium.
The Podium
And today is the last day. Baka pwede pang humabol yung mga viewers natin. Imbitahin mo sila.
Okay. So, hello everyone. I'd like to invite you to attend and support Filipino comics at the Philippine International Comics Festival on June 20 to 21. Today is the last day. We're open until 8 p.m. Tickets are 200 pesos, and every comic book purchase will help encourage our creators to continue creating.
Fantastic. Maraming salamat, Paolo.
Thank you, Lisa, for having me.
Hanggang sa susunod na linggo, samahan ninyo kami ulit dito sa Art to Art, kung saan ang usapang sining at kultura ay para sa lahat. Ito po ang inyong balerina ng bayan, Lisa Macuja Elizalde, nagpupugay sa artistang Pilipino.